Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead, and welcome to our community. We are so grateful to those of you who watch our videos and form our community. It is just getting more and more rewarding to read through the comments on our videos, and actually now Jim is helping to answer, so it takes us 2 to 3 hours a night, both of us working on that, to answer everyone's questions and comments, and we really appreciate that. We also appreciate it when you help each other out as well. It just sometimes all I have to say is great job on this conversation, and so it is it's very fun, and it's very rewarding for us to be building a community of people who care about safety in canning in every respect, and also emergency preparedness and self-reliance, food security, the whole thing that we really are concerned with. So today, I think we're going to do something pretty fun, and this goes to food security, actually all three, self-reliance and emergency preparedness, because we are going to make some soft bread wraps for wrapping sandwich filling in place of flour tortillas, which are often used. And this is a softer but thicker wrap that is absolutely delicious. I practiced the other day, and Jim and I loved it. They were just delicious. And the very cool thing is we're going to be using our veggie powders. And so we'll get started on that in just a moment. The recipe that I found that I'm going to use is one that is up on King Arthur's website, King Arthur Flour website, and I will put the link below. And just about the only thing that I have adjusted is that we will be adding some vegetable powder. Now, these are the two vegetable powders that we're going to use. I'm going to make a double batch. This is beet and this is spinach. We're going to put the spinach together now, and the beet I've already started, and we'll bring it out in just a few minutes and show you what to do with it once it gets ready to work with. The ingredients are all very simple. All of these things you can have stored on your emergency food storage shelves. You would be able to make this in an emergency situation as well if you had the capability of some kind of frying pan over an open fire, which is pretty easy to do. So we're going to start with 2 cups of flour, or if you have a scale like I do, it's going to be 240 grams of this flour. So that's what my preference is to use the scale, and King Arthur does give those measurements. So I'm just going to put the flour right here. And the next thing is to add 1 1/4 cups of boiling water to this flour, which is kind of an unusual method, but I'll tell you, it just makes the most delicious wraps. Okay, now this flour is going to absorb every bit of that water, and then it's supposed to form quite a soft dough. I can feel that heat coming off the flour. And what King Arthur says is that by doing it this way, it removes some of the starchiness taste of the wraps. And so, yes, it is a soft dough, which is what we want. And then it's hot. At this stage, the next step is to cover it, and I just use a plastic bag. And we're going to let it sit and absorb the flour for 30 minutes. And then we will be back when we are ready to go to the next step. It has been 30 minutes. Let's check our dough. Still warm and steamy in here. Yeah, it's condensed on the side of the pan. It's lovely and soft. I hope you can see that. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is we need to add 1 cup of flour. And then I will be adding 1 teaspoon of yeast, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 cup of potato flakes. Now these are Bob's red mill potato flakes, and the reason I like Bob's is because he doesn't put anything else in here. The total ingredients are dehydrated potatoes. I could have used my potato powder as well, but I wanted to use something that most of you would have access to, so it's 1/4 cup of that. And then I'm going to add, now this is not in King Arthur's recipe, so you'll just have to remember to add your veggie powder, a couple of tablespoons of, and this is spinach powder. Then I'm going to stir this around. Now, the beet dough that I mentioned earlier, I did that this morning in my KitchenAid stand mixer with the dough hook. And I kind of didn't like how it worked, so I just thought I would do this one by hand. Working this much of flour into the dough already is a little tough, but I prefer to do it by hand, and I'm just going to kind of knead it in here like this. But you can do it either way. It is faster to do it in a stand mixer if you have one, but it certainly can be done in a bowl by hand. And I'm just going to now dump it all out, and I'm just going to start kneading this in. And I'm going to knead this for about 10 minutes. Don't worry, all of this will get kneaded in. And before we're done, we may even have to add a little bit more flour. It's too soon to tell. So we'll be back when this is all kneaded. So I'm just finishing up the kneading here, develop that gluten. Look at what a gorgeous color this spinach soft bread is going to be. It is quite a bit more stiff since I added those extra things. I'm just going to set it right here with this bowl over the top of it so it can rise now for about an hour. While we allow the spinach dough to rise, we're going to work with the beet dough that I started earlier this morning. And so it has been rising for an hour. And the next step is we're just going to pat it out and cut it into the right size pieces, and then we're going to dry fry it. So I'm knocking the gas out of this because this is a yeast recipe. It's going to have just a little bit of a rise to it, which is very different than using flour tortillas for wraps. And flour tortillas are sometimes a little bit brittle and tear, and this bread wrap does not. And so I'm going to cut it in about 8 pieces, and you can at this point make these any size that you wish. Just going to stack these over here, get them out of the way a little bit, and we will roll our first one. And you roll it out about the size that you would like to have your wrap. And you can even vary the shape. If you'd want them a little bit oblong, then you can do that. If you want them perfectly round, you can do that. So, not perfect, but it's okay. Now I'm going to dry fry them. I have this frying pan right here. It's right now at 400. And so I'm going to keep them going here. We want to cook them through and have little brownish patches on the bottom, just like you do when you have flour tortillas. We're going to be having a family dinner tomorrow night, and that's why I'm making these. So we're going to have some fajita-like veggies on a sheet pan, and actually I'm going to show you that. This is going to be a 2-day video, because we're not going to air it for a couple of weeks yet. So you'll be able to see what happens to these. And in making them various sizes, you can make them children's size, adult size, whatever size works for what you're going to be doing with them. And this is quite a quick process. So you can see the brown spots here, the cooked brown spots, sort of like a pancake. All right, we'll be back when these are all done. Just finished rolling out the last one of these. I'm just going to put it right on the frying pan. And we have, this one is done. So I'm going to slip it over here. So we have the red ones and the green ones, the beets and the spinach. And these have cooled somewhat. They're still just a little bit warm, but see how flexible they are? So you can just imagine a nice sandwich filling, a Navajo taco with beans and cheese in there. Or we're going to do tomorrow night for our family dinner a fajita-like sheet pan just full of steak strips and chicken strips and then all of the vegetables, and people are going to make their own little wraps. We will come back with a picture of how that looks tomorrow. So we will see you for the grand finale tomorrow evening. This is the next day, and I just wanted to follow up and show you what I've done. Now, here are the soft bread wraps. They have been in the refrigerator overnight in these Ziploc bags, and I just took one. I think I took a spinach one out and put it in this towel and just put it in the microwave for a minute to get it nice and warm. And family is due here in just a few minutes, but I quickly cooked up some of the things that I'm going to be having on a big sheet pan and pulling this out of the oven so people can make their own. And so this is still very nice and warm. It's still very pliable. And so you just make your selection of food and whatever you would like to put in your wrap. And that's all there is to it. So here it is, a very delicious wrap with spinach wrap bread. And might have to put a toothpick in it to keep it closed like that. Either that or pile up the plate with a lot of the wraps. So that's all there is to it. And I hope you try this. This was so much fun. And you can make them in so many different colors and flavors using your veggie powders. So thanks for being with us, and we will see you at our next video.